Hello, and welcome back to another episode. This episode is going to be a quickie, very short, very sweet, very impactful, hopefully. But I want to give not the intention. What is the word I'm looking for? I want to give the reasoning. That's the word I'm looking for behind why I decided to record this episode. So I was scrolling on Pinterest, love Pinterest. I've been on there a lot recently, looking at baby stuff, looking at fun crafts to do for fall and the holidays and all that good stuff. But I came across a post on Pinterest and it was linked to a blog post and it said how to grow your Instagram in only 30 minutes a day. And I tapped on it and I was going through it and I was like, this is so unrealistic in my opinion of what you can actually do in 30 minutes a day. And all of the things that they said to focus on, again, in my opinion, were not things that were necessary to focus on. What my hope is with this episode is that what I share can actually be done in 30 minutes a day. And that it also is what I believe to be the most important things that you should be focusing on to actually see results. And again, this is my personal perspective on what I think can actually be done in 30 minutes a day and the time frame of everything. I will give a little disclaimer that if you're just starting your Instagram growth journey, these things might take longer, not necessarily because you need to spend longer on them, but just because in the learning process of creating content and learning Instagram and how things work, it just might take a little bit longer. Like for me, when I was batching out content, it took me a long time to batch out my content, but now where I'm at in my business, like it only really takes me 5 to 10 minutes to batch out one piece of content or less than that. And so over time, obviously, I've gotten better at things, I've gotten quicker at things. So just keep that in mind. If you're at the very beginning, I will say this is a very good goal to shoot for. If you've been at Instagram for a little bit of time, then this is something that I believe to be very applicable, sustainable, doable. That's the word. I believe that this is very doable. That being said, this is what I recommend. You're going to spend 5 days a week on Instagram. You're going to take the weekends off and you're going to post 3 times a week on Instagram. If you want to work on the weekends, totally fine. Great. I didn't build that in here, but if you want to, you can add in maybe another posting day, or maybe you could increase the amount of time you spend on batching content, or maybe you could use one of those days for like community building. There's a bunch of different things you can do. But for the sake of this example, we're talking 5 days on Instagram. You're posting 3 of those days. On your posting days, I would recommend posting Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So then your non-posting days would obviously be Tuesdays and Thursdays and also technically the weekends. But on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do have specific tasks that I would have you to do. Now, going back to posting days, and I'm going to break this down, posting days versus non-posting days. Posting days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to do the exact same structure each of these days. You're going to spend 5 minutes posting. And this could be writing out the caption if you haven't batched it already, and also sharing it to your Instagram stories. You're going to spend 5 minutes engaging with comments after posting. You're going to spend 5 minutes doing miscellaneous tasks. So this could be maybe you spend 5 additional minutes engaging with comments if that's important. Maybe you do 5 minutes of responding to direct messages. Maybe you do 5 minutes of updating your highlights, something along those lines. Then the last 15 minutes you're going to spend posting on your stories throughout the day. So those 15 minutes are going to be broken up into increments throughout the day. So again, 5 minutes posting, 5 minutes engaging with comments after posting, 5 minutes doing miscellaneous tasks, 15 minutes posting on stories throughout the day. That's what you're going to structure each of your posting days to look like. That's 30 minutes total. I think that is so doable. Again, if you've been at it for a little bit of time and you're not the very beginning stages of your business and being on Instagram as a content creator. Now, your posting days are going to look different. And again, this is just an example. You don't have to do this exact structure. But Tuesdays, you're going to spend 5 minutes collecting content ideas for batch day. Then you're going to spend 15 minutes in your direct messages, catching up on your direct messages. If you didn't use the 5 minutes, like the miscellaneous tasks or the overflow time that you have on your posting days to respond to direct messages, then maybe this is a little bit less time. So you could say like 5 to 15 minutes, and any of the extra time that you have, maybe left over from responding to direct messages, could be put towards collecting ideas or posting stories throughout the day, which is the next one, which is 10 minutes for stories throughout the day. So 5 minutes collecting ideas for content day, or collecting content ideas for batch day, switch those. 15 minutes in your direct messages, 10 minutes for posting stories throughout the day. So that's your 30 minutes there. Then on Thursdays, which is another non-posting day, that's going to be your batch day. And that's obviously when you're batching content. And so I recommend 10 minutes per post. And this is also hopefully going to get you out of overthinking mode when you're like, okay, I have 10 minutes to create something. Really challenge yourself and see if you can actually create it in 10 minutes. And my hope with this isn't that you have to sit down, think of the idea, come up with the music to use, and also create the content. My hope is that your other non-posting day, which is on Tuesday, that you've collected a few of those different ideas. You've collected hopefully some audios as well. So that way, when you go into batch day, it's really just pairing the idea with the audio, maybe even filming a little bit of content if you need to film content, and then obviously creating the actual post. And I say 10 minutes per post because if you're posting 3 times per week, that's going to equal to your 30 minutes. Now, again, I just have to say this. If you're at the beginning of your journey and you're listening to me saying that you're batching out 3 pieces of content in 30 minutes, you're probably thinking that I'm crazy. And I would have thought that I was crazy too if I was listening to this when I very first started creating content. But as you do it more, you're going to get quicker at it. I promise you. So I think this is such a great goal to have. And ultimately, depending on what your dream work schedule looks like, you could also either maybe do 60 minutes of batching days on Thursdays or you could maybe do 30 minutes of batching on Thursday, 30 minutes of batching on Saturday. I don't know. This is just an example of a schedule. Now, side note here, if you show up in other medias, meaning like TikTok, podcasts, emails, I don't know, things like that, and you're creating content specifically for those platforms, so it's not just repurposed content. I personally would post those on Tuesdays and Thursdays because those are your non-posting days on Instagram, right? So you're posting on Instagram Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I would maybe send out like an email on, let's just say Tuesdays, and then do a podcast on Thursdays, if that's applicable to other medias that you're showing up in. Obviously, you don't have to be showing up in other medias. That's how I actually do structure my content schedule between all my platforms is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I post on Instagram. Tuesdays are my podcast days, and then Thursdays are my email days. So that way I'm still staying in touch with my audience basically on a daily basis. Obviously, I don't do anything on the weekends, but I don't want to be posting content on the weekends. But you definitely can. I did posting on the weekends for a really, really long time. I just don't want to anymore. And I also don't need to. And I don't think that anyone needs to in order to be successful and grow on Instagram. So that's my breakdown there of what I think is actually reasonable and totally sustainable. And you will actually see results from doing these things. And I do think that it is going to challenge a few of you to get out of that overthinking mode when it comes to creating content and just take action. And also, if you set a timer and you're like, hey, I have 5 minutes to engage with comments after posting, see how much you can get done versus just like, oh, yeah, I have like an extra 15 minutes. Like you're just like moseying around and you're responding to a comment here and responding to a comment over here. And then you're getting distracted by a direct message. And then you're like, oh, maybe I should post on my stories. That happens so much. And I am speaking from personal experience. I'm not calling anyone out. But when you're like set a time and you're like, hey, I have 5 minutes to do this, you're like, okay, I only have 15 minutes to post stories throughout the day. You're really going to challenge yourself of how to best utilize that time versus just, oh, yeah, we'll see when this gets done. And I think the saying is like, if you give yourself 3 hours to, I don't think this is actually the saying, but something along these lines where it's like, if you give yourself 3 hours to clean the house, it's going to take you 3 hours. Whereas if you give yourself 30 minutes, it's going to take you 30 minutes. So it's like you're going to shrink the amount of time that the task takes to fit the allotted amount of time that you give yourself. So that's what I really would encourage with this. Now, there are two other things that I want to talk about here, and this really has nothing to do with specifically like how to grow your Instagram in 30 minutes a day. But I would say that there are a few things that I wouldn't worry about and a few things that I would do, especially moving into 2024 and like what I would focus on versus what's not worth your time focusing on. That's what I'm going to break down. So things that I wouldn't worry about: hashtags, how many views each reel gets, or how many likes, or how many comments, or whatever each post gets, trends. Those are the three things that I wouldn't worry about. Things that I would do, not necessarily would worry about, but things that I would do that I would focus on that I would say is worth your time and energy doing: creating a series of content, collaborating with one other account per month, So whether that be a reel collaboration, carousel post, live video, any of those things, I would spend time learning about the algorithm. And there's 3 really great episodes all about learning about Instagram on the podcast. So you're welcome. One of them is actually literally, I think it's literally titled like learning the algorithm or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember that far back. The next one is look at your analytics frequently and use that to adjust your strategy. Because here's the thing, you could be doing this and you could be showing up and growing your Instagram in 30 minutes a day. If you're just posting and posting and posting and batching content and like you're just like in creation mode over and over again, you're probably not going to see the results that you want to see. Not because your content isn't good, but because you need to be able to adjust your strategy and address what it is that you're posting based off of the data that you're getting back from what it is that you're posting. So that's really important. The next one is finding your best posting time. Yes, you do have a best posting time. Yes, everyone's posting time is different. So don't ask me what the best time to post is. You got to figure it out for yourself. The next thing I would focus on is non follower reach. So this is going back to insights and data that you should pay attention to. Non follower reach, watch time for reels, and then follows per post, as well as link clicks, which you can only see link clicks on carousel posts, but that's another important one that I would focus on because that's going to give you important data that isn't just telling you that your Instagram is growing, but hopefully showing you that your Instagram is growing. And if it's not, if you're not growing on Instagram, then that's important data to look at to ask yourself, okay, why am I not growing? And then lastly, another thing that I would do is spend a few minutes every quarter optimizing your account and doing an account audit. You could do this account audit yourself. You could have a friend, maybe you have a friend on Instagram, something like that. You guys could do a little swap, do a little audit of each other's Instagram accounts. And again, it's not something I would do every single month. I think every single quarter is really great. So 4 times per year, spending like maybe an hour max doing a little bit of optimizing, just making sure that everything is relevant, that your branding is on point, that all your highlight covers are matching, that the call to action statement in your bio is updated, like your credibility statement in your bio is updated, like your pinned content, like things like that. That's just really important to make sure that that's updated. And then doing an audit, like even if you are growing, doing an audit is still really great just to make sure that the direction that you're wanting to take your Instagram account and the message that you're wanting to share, the impact that you're wanting to make is still the direction that you're moving in. So that is it for today's episode. I hope this was helpful. I know short, sweet, but I genuinely do believe this to be very realistic in terms of how to grow your Instagram in only 30 minutes a day. And I hope that you actually take this as a challenge, whether you're trying to be quick on Instagram or not. Take it as a challenge and just see if you can do it for a week. I'm really excited to try it out.